Hey there, everyone. This is Rabbi Jonathan Malamy, Director of Spiritual Care at the New Jewish Home in Manhattan. A year ago, we didn't even have a name for this series of interviews with folks at Jewish Home. A lot has happened, I've learned a great deal, and we've made some plans I'm excited to share, thinking about all the richness and diversity we contain and all the conversations we could have. We've recently taken the name Humans of Jewish Home. That name takes inspiration from the photo and interview series Humans of New York, which began back in 2010. We are not connected to that project except as fans, but it and others like StoryCorps have helped create the space to amplify the fascinating stories of everyday lives. Amazingly, our little podcast was recently honored with a programming award at the annual meeting of the Association of Jewish Aging Services this past February. So with those laurels, we turn to what I will ambitiously call Season 2, in which we will widen the conversation a bit more. Quite literally, in fact. Come on and see what I mean. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Yes.
Say hello, how you doing, or something like that.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, you sound good. Okay, give me something.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you very much. Last year, I interviewed 4 different people who live at the Jewish Home, and I asked them to tell me a little bit about their personal history and then about their perspective on life. And the suggestion for the second year was to look for some connections between a staff member and a resident that was like a good working relationship. And everybody said, oh, you have to talk to the two of you. You are a famous duo. So I just wanted to have you introduce yourselves, and then I'll ask you to just talk a little bit about your connection to one another, how you work together. Cool?
Cool.
Any questions?
And go.
All right. Tell me your name.
My name is Mr. Hill.
What's your first name?
Jacob.
Jacob Hill.
Yeah.
Excellent. And where'd you grow up?
Virginia.
And how old were you when you came up north?
I was a very young man, 17 years old.
You were 17. And did you get work when you came here?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you do?
Chef.
Where did you cook?
The hospital in the Bronx, in Brooklyn.
Did you know how to cook when you came already?
Yes. And then I went to school in New York to be a chef.
To culinary school?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But who taught you how to cook when you were growing up?
My father and mother.
Were they good?
Oh,
good
yeah,
cooks?
the best.
What was your favorite food growing up?
Soul food and Spanish food.
Soul food and Spanish food?
Yeah.
Does your family have Spanish background?
Oh, no. But they didn't learn, though.
They learned about it. Mm-hmm. If somebody doesn't know what soul food is, like, what are your favorite?
Well, I don't know, but in New York, but in North Carolina, South Carolina, New Orleans, for me, that represents shrimp salad, chicken, collard green, that's soul food, you know.
And special spices?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then you became a cook working at a hospital?
Yeah.
Ms. Brooks told me the other day that you had worked in food service,
Right.
in healthcare.
Right.
So that maybe is part of the connection that the two of you have. So tell me your name.
Hi, my name is Lenice Brooks. I'm one of the food service managers here at the Jewish Home.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Jamaica, Queens.
And how did you get into food service?
I kind of just fell into it. I've always been in healthcare, but I just love helping people. So I knew that was the field I wanted to be in. I'm also a certified medical assistant, so I've been all over.
And what about food?
I learned how to cook from my grandmother. So she was from Virginia. She was from Richmond. And she taught me how to cook growing up from a very young age. I used to cook from, I think I was maybe like 6 or 7. I would be in the kitchen with her, cooking all the time. She started me off with collard greens, how to pick them and clean them and all of that. That was our bonding moment. And she taught me how to make her famous rice pudding. So from time to time, I make that from scratch.
Mm-hmm. And then how did you turn that into professional work?
I became a home health aide, and after that, I wanted to do more. So I became a certified medical assistant, and after that, I worked in a drug rehab, helping people to get their lives back on track. I worked in a prison for women, in the infirmary there, and now I'm here.
And do you remember when you first met Mr. Hill?
Yes. Mr. Hill was in the Frank building at the bottom of the ramp. And they would say, Mr. Hill is upset. please somebody come talk to Mr. Hill. And I was like, okay, let me go talk to Mr. Hill. Let me see what's going on. So I think I was kind of like calming for him. And he would be very upset where some people didn't take the time to understand. So I would just listen. You know, I would sit and listen and take his request and try to make sure that his needs was met.
Mr. Hill, what kind of things would get you upset?
Because, you see, I know what's right, I know what's wrong. So if I call downstairs and say, I want something, and I don't get it, and then they send me the wrong food, that's wrong.
So you would make a request for something, and then the wrong thing would come.
Right.
So you would head down to the bottom of the ramp,
right,
and summon assistance.
Right.
And then, do you remember when you met Ms. Brooks?
Oh, yes.
What was that like?
Very, very nicely. She very, very responded to me very nicely, you know. You see, the most important thing in life, she said, God give it things. Give you a mouth to talk, you give her eyes to see, and ears to hear. So some people don't hear, some people just don't see neither. But her, she always listens, you know. Very smart young lady.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Hill.
You know? You see, if I show love, I get love. If I don't show love, then I don't get love. But she always show love to you, know.
Does that match your philosophy? What do you think about it?
Yes, it does. I try to make sure that Mr. Hill has a good day. And, you know, I try to just fulfill the request that he sends down to the kitchen. I just feel like it's just what I'm supposed to do.
I would think pretty much everybody would be happy if the thing they asked for was the thing that they got.
Right.
But sometimes, even if we would like to give something, if you're not able to do exactly what he wants, how would you approach it?
Well, I would call him and let Mr. Hill know that we don't have it. And is there something else that I can substitute it for? Or is there another way of making him happy with his food preference?
It seems to me that there's something about the way you two work together that has caught people's attention.
Right.
And it makes it somewhat
Easy,
unusual.
Easy.
I try to make it as easy as possible.
Mm-hmm. So what's your strategy to make it easy?
Patience. It's just being patient with people. Sometimes you have to just take the time to just listen. And if there's a problem, if you have a lot of patience, it might not be the specific goal, but you can make a substitution, you know, just to satisfy the need of the resident. It's not that hard.
Why do you think it seems hard for some folks?
No patience. You have to take your time because when you rush, you miss out on things. Patience is a very, very big key. Very big.
How do you help somebody develop patience?
Well, you see, for me, listen is important. You see, some people just doesn't listen at all. They go in 1 year, go another year, you know. But see, when I was growing up, I was taught I will respect you, and you respect me, you know. Very important. So here's another thing. If I'm paying you to take care of me, well, then you should be able to take care of me. Some of the time, like last week, I refused to eat the food because it was all jammed together. For me, I was taught as a young boy, I don't even my eyes, you know.
What does that mean?
My eye means the food it should be one there and one there. Not all jammed together. I don't want to eat it like that. It's wrong. So the chef's supposed to see the food is right, you know.
So the way that the food appears tells you a little bit about the care of the person that made it for you.
Right. So I call downstairs. Oh, I'm so sorry. There's a problem there.
You know, you make me think cooking for a chef is a lot like being a doctor who's taking care of a patient who's a doctor.
Right.
There's a certain complexity when you're caring for somebody who is an expert in your own field. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, does that play a role in the way that you relate to Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Chef Hill?
Chef Hill. Yes. When we're on the line, my staff, they already know. Mr. Hill's tray's coming down. Lanice, Mr. Hill's tray coming. They put it to the side. They already know I need to check it. I need to make sure everything is correct and he has everything that he ordered. And then I sign off on it and I send it up. But I try my best to make sure that it's up to his standard.
Tell me a little bit, what's the connection between food and love?
There definitely is a connection. You can make something so good that you touch someone's soul. You can make someone love you just through food. That's my best response. How
about you, Mr. Hill? What would you say is the connection between food and love?
Well, food and love go together just like the horse and boogie, you know? Go together, the horse and boogie.
Two parts of the same thing.
Right.
Food for the soul.
Well, that makes me wonder why the word soul. What does it mean that the food is called soul food?
From here, from your heart.
From your heart.
You're cooking with love.
With love.
That's why it's called soul food. You cook with your heart. If you don't cook with your heart, it doesn't taste so good. But when you know that someone put their soul into their food, you know that there's love there. And that goes down to patience. They didn't just rush the meal. You have to take time and put your love into it. That's what makes the food really tasty, and know that someone took their time to make the food for you.
What advice would you give from what the two of you have discovered about a successful partnership between the people who live here and the people who work here? What wisdom could you share?
I would say always show up. Always show up. That's a big thing. I feel like if you show up and you take your time, you get to appreciate the people that are here. You get to know the people that are here. You get to hear their stories and, their love for certain things. So just take your time. Don't rush. And you'll get to see so many things if you just sit and listen, even if it's for a minute. I think that you would hear so many different things that would just open your eyes and make you feel a purpose of being here and know what the meaning of life is to be here, So that's how I feel about that.
Well, certainly hearing people's stories is one of the reasons why I started doing this recording anyway, so that people could tell more of their stories. How about you, Mr. Hill?
Well, the most important thing, they listen to me first, to listen.
I hear you. So you need a chance to make connections and relationships, to get to know the people and to be known by the people.
Right. I'll get to know you. You will get to know me.
And what about you should somebody know to understand who you are?
They should know that me. I'm a real man. I'm real. I never lie, because I never tell a lie. Tell one lie, you tell two lies, tell three lies. That's wrong. Because I know that man upstairs. He was watching with me day and night.
So people would know that you're a man of your word,
right,
and that you speak the truth.
Right.
And how about you, Ms. Brooks? What should people know about you?
I get the job done. I try every time to get the job done. I hear that all the time. So I think that's what people think when they think of me, that I try my best, and I always put my best foot forward.
Another thing, you see, when I met her, she's very sweet, But the most important thing in life is just to show respect for me, I respect for you, So I give you a flower so you can spell my name,
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I thank you both for talking a little bit about how you work with one another.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Hill, thank you for coming and taking this journey to this room.
You're welcome.
It was a long journey.
But maybe, I don't know if it's any longer than from the bottom of the Frank ramp up to the kitchen. That's a long journey too.
Yeah. It got to the point where Mr. Hill just sit at the bottom and just wait. Now you're going to come to me.
Well, my office happens to be sort of right in the middle. So sometimes I'm the relay. I would hear you down at the bottom of the ramp, and I would go over to the kitchen and say, Mr. Hill is calling from the bottom of the ramp.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me.
During this conversation, I could see the smiles and the easy exchanges that passed between my guests. But you could hear, I'm sure, the laughs and the appreciations that went with them. Yes, these two get along and have an understanding. Is that so remarkable? The answer is yes and no, I think. On the one hand, two people with so many similarities, family roots in the same part of the country, experience in the same professional field, similar values, it's not surprising that there is camaraderie and understanding between them. But on the other hand, consider the Jewish home. The place where Ms. Brooks works is the place where Mr. Hill lives. And that creates some distance. But it's not unique to us, or to people who reside in a place like ours. all of us go to places and connect with people who are working when we are not. If you go to the beach, but there's a lifeguard on duty, or if you go out to a restaurant and are served by a waiter, these roles define our responsibilities and help us know what is expected, but they also can get in the way of seeing someone else as a full human being. At a restaurant, back in the kitchen, they might just refer to you as the lasagna order from table 5. And in the hospital, one can imagine someone referencing just the hip fracture in room 718. Innocent shortcuts, perhaps, but Mr. Hill reminds us that what's most important to him is that he be seen as a real person. And it is clear that Ms. Brooks sees him, and indeed all of the people for whom she is responsible, in their full humanity. Not only as a menu selection or a dietary profile that is most forefront in her work. I believe as we meet more residents and staff, we will see this theme emerge in different ways. Residents and workers who see one another beyond their roles as the fuller people that they are. And as Ms. Brooks said, which is also the mission of this podcast, brings out the stories and depths of the people. So we'll see you in a few months with the next episode of Humans of Jewish Home. Happy spring.